Tech Time Traveler here, and today I have one of my favorite machines. This is a Tandy 1000 TL. I actually just picked this up a couple weeks ago. I got it for 40 bucks, which I thought was an awesome price, especially with the amount of interest there's been in Tandy 1000 gear recently, probably owing to things like Siptandy and just a general revival amongst people of my age and on down for older DOS PCs. Now, this particular machine is kind of special to me. If you watched my previous video about bulletin boards and setting up a bulletin board using Teleguard, this was the machine that my school originally gave me to set the bulletin board up on. I don't remember if it actually came home with me briefly, or if it actually stayed at the school. I'm a little fuzzy on that, but it was still a relatively new computer at the time. You know, this was 1991, and the school decided they wanted it back, and that's when I ended up with a Tandy 1000 SX, which is a much lesser computer. In terms of specs, the TL series is kind of a mixed bag. Definitely there was some benefit in terms of keeping the size small, and the design was definitely refreshed and looked a lot nicer than the original 1000 design. I believe they bumped up the processor from the TX a little bit, and it came with 640K of RAM. The downsides were that they still used the XT architecture. So you were stuck with 8-bit ISA slots. You didn't get any 16-bit. You were also limited in terms of hard drive options. And then the famed 16-color Tandy graphics, or enhanced CGA, whatever you want to call it, that had been so impressive in years past, that was getting kind of long in the tooth in the late 80s. There was already a mass upgrade effort to VGA or MCGA. So yeah, it's kind of a compromise, but again, I guess it was a machine that was kind of targeted at the home market, so that kind of worked for it. Tandy did have machines with much greater horsepower available. They had like the 2500 series, the 3000s. I think they even did a 4000 and a 5000 series. And in those ones, which were aimed at the business market, they actually did some private label stuff. So there are digital equipment machines that are actually Tandys. When I was a kid, we also had a Panasonic business partner, which unbeknownst to me was basically a rebadged Tandy 2500. I think it was a 386 SX. And they even did a private label, I think, for Grid also. So if you see Grid, DEC, or Panasonic 386, 46 class machines, look pretty closely at the case, because there's a very good chance they're actually Tandys. But I've been looking for this exact setup with, because I remember it had the 5 1/4 inch floppy in the bottom. It had a 3.5 inch disc up top. And yeah, I don't know what it is about the Tandy 1000 that I like so much. I've been collecting them like mad lately. They just have, I don't know, there's something about the design. It's just very basic, very elegant. You know, I love the grill on the TL and the SL series. And yeah, it's got a pleasing kind of vibe going to it that other vintage PCs, especially clones, just didn't really have. Now, this is actually the second TL that I've acquired. I acquired one before that, and it was one of those situations where, you know, I was just like, oh yeah, I'll plug it in and see what it does. And I heard this crackling sound, and there was a bunch of smoke coming out, and I was like, shh. So it's like, I better shut that off. And then I started investigating it, and I have the power supply right beside my face as I'm kind of messing around with it to see, you know, if is it the power supply that's shorting out, or is it the motherboard? And of course it popped a cap right in my face, which didn't hurt. It didn't do any damage or anything, but it definitely kind of startled me a little bit. And yeah, you know, I know these things, you know, they're not going to burn the house down or whatever, but it's still unpleasant when you plug something in and you get fire. You don't want that. Yeah, there's something too about the second generation of Tandy 1000s when it comes to, you know, things operating properly. I've found the first generation are far more robust than these ones are. I've seldom had a problem with any of the original 1000 series machines that I've picked up. I find these second generation Tandy 1000s to be a little more fragile than the earlier generation. I have a Tandy 1000 and an SX. I have the EX and the HX. All of those work just fine. None of them have, sparked off or smoked up or anything like that. But I've had a few TL and the later series, I have an RL, and they just seem to blow caps like crazy. Stuff burns up. I don't know if components got a little cheaper later on. I'm not really sure. So yeah, in this case, I've elected not to plug it in right away because I do not want to burn the whole thing up. I want to see if I can catch any warning signs of shorts before I do that. And I thought, I do that on camera, what the heck. So yeah, I just got this in a couple days ago via FedEx, and I thought, you know what, let's take it apart on camera. Let's see what happens. And then if it decides to blow up on me, well, at least I won't be alone. So we'll try that. So yeah, just taking a look at it here. It looks to be in pretty good nick, as the British would say. It's nice and clean. It's not too scratched. I have no idea what's going on here. Somebody just didn't bother with a screwdriver to remove the video connector. That's yeah, they just chopped it, which makes me feel sad because there's probably a monitor that was attached to that is now missing the end of its cable and probably wasn't treated very well afterwards. And yeah, you got the standard ports. You got a serial port. You got their weird proprietary printer port, your joystick ports, all that stuff. Doesn't look like there's anything really installed in it. There probably was something here. That's too bad. I always like to get little goodies with these things. But yeah, you know what? For 45 bucks, I'm not going to complain. Especially not with the way prices have been lately. I've seen people fighting over EX and HX machines in particular. Don't know why. And they will go for like 200 bucks. I'm just like, there are literally thousands of them made. Like, why are you guys fighting over these? Yeah, so I guess the first thing we need to do is open it up. I did see some bubble wrap in there. And I have to remember how to open it. It looks to me, no, it's not screwed in. Okay, so the cover is already loose. So if I remember correctly, you just kind of push this like that. Throw a little bit. There we go. Oh, okay. Maybe this isn't protective. What is this? Oh, I know what this is. Oops. It's on the floor. That's what it is. All right. So that is the hard drive card. It's a little bent. Yeah, that's an MFM controller card. The hard drive is long gone. I think this came from an e-recycler, so probably they just deleted it. And by delete, I mean shredded. I'm just taking some... I'm sniffing it. I'm actually sniffing it because you can often tell when somebody's tried to fire up something like this and it burnt up, because you can smell burnt stuff. And I am definitely... Yeah, there's a little bit of a funk to it that's got me concerned. It's hard to tell. You know that smell of burnt electronics. It's a very distinctive smell. What else have we got here? Well, we've got the 5¼ floppy, the Teak drives, which I always consider this to be the Tandy drive. It's just what I expect to see with one of these. Oh yeah, and of course we got tons of packing peanuts. Packing peanut residue. That's why I don't like using those, because they go everywhere. Now this is interesting. We're missing several RAM chips there. I'm not sure why those are missing. Looks like an empty CoPro slot, maybe. Yeah, I don't think... I'm not seeing anything that looks horribly burnt or destroyed. But yeah, there's no way I'm just gonna fire that up as is, because I definitely want to test it out and make sure that everything's normative. And then we've got the infamous Tandy 3.5-inch floppy, which doesn't have a power cord because the power is integrated into the cable. So you have to be real careful when you hook these up, because if you get the alignment the wrong way, you're going to have sparky going on. And I have seen situations where the drives actually will have shorts in them and it shorts out the computer as well. So yeah, that's not good. So yeah, I think the first thing I'll do is I will disconnect the drives from any source of power, which I can do easily enough. Okay, I'm just gonna pull power out here. Take this one off. All right, so the power supply is now isolated from the computer, so there's no chance of anything shorting there, which is great, because that's not a fun thing to experience. So I guess the first thing I will do is I will check for shorts between the 5-volt rails and the 12-volt, and I think this might have a minus 12-volt rail as well. And we'll just make sure that there's nothing hinky going on there. Alrighty, so I got my trusty Canadian Tire brand digital multimeter here, and I'll put it in ohms mode. And yeah, I think one easy check will be just go between the power pins here, plus 12 and plus 5. Let's see what it says. Yeah, well, it's not dead short, so I think that's probably good. All right, and then we'll check this guy. Obviously, these are the 5-volt rails. Let's see what happens. Get it good. Doesn't quite fit. Maybe I can get it there. Oops. Okay, looks about right. Yeah, that looks to be good. So I don't see any shorts there. Now the question is, are there shorts on the board? Because I suspect that's where the problem is. I had an RL that I got recently, and just one of the caps was shorted and it blew up darn near everything. So I'm gonna just check the 5-volt and the 12-volt here, or minus 12-volt, whatever it is. Just make sure there's no shorts. Nope. No. Okay, so that all looks good. Right. This is the part I'm always nervous about, because I just have this feeling. I don't know if these ones have the infamous Rifa caps in them. I seem to remember looking at this one on my other machine, and I don't think it did have one of those. Those things are nasty when they blow up. All right, well, there's no time like the present. We'll grab our power cable, plug her in, and then we'll hit the old power button. And yeah, just say a prayer. Oh man, this stuff always makes me nervous. All right. Now I think these power supplies, if I remember correctly, they will power up even if there's nothing attached. So here we go. Well, that's certainly promising. Nothing scary going on there. Yeah, it certainly sounds healthy. I'm just like tense because I'm just waiting for the thing to just pop. Let's give it a minute here. Okay, well that's all right. I think that sounds good. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, just bring this around like so, and we'll hook up our multimeter, and we'll just check the voltages that are coming out of this thing, because I definitely do not trust this thing at all. Okay, so that's going to test the 5 volt. Let's see what we get. Wow, that's like 5 volts bang on. Okay, that's good. I don't know if you can hear my knees shaking in the background, but I've had so many of these second generation Tandys just detonate, and I'm so sure it's going to happen. But of course, it's on camera right now, so probably it won't. Oops, what am I doing? Do that. Let's see where our 12 volt is. Here we go again. Okay, so that's not good. I'm pretty sure that should be 12 volts, not 9. Let's make it a better connection there. I'll try it again. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's not what I want to see, I don't think. Now, it could be that it's not putting out the full voltage because it doesn't have something to really draw it. So maybe what I'll do, this is taking a little bit of a risk, but can't really tell where the plug is. Okay, so it's actually underneath where I thought it was, so maybe it's under here. Yeah, that feels right. Okay. Let's we'll hook her up again there, and we'll just see, just for a very brief second, what kind of voltage we're getting. Aha, okay. So that's good. That's probably what we should be seeing, because, like I said, sometimes power supplies don't put out the full voltage until there's an actual load on there. So, yeah, I mean, that's good. Now, I don't know if this card will work. I think I'm probably going to wait on that. I really wish they hadn't snipped the wires like that. What's that about? Yeah, it would have been just, I mean, there's a connector. There's a connector right there. All I had to do was unplug that. This is damn e-waste, guys. All right, so we've got our Tandy 1000 TL set up here. Yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't keep it all Tandy hardware. I only have one Tandy monitor, which is a CM2 that got damaged in transit. I actually featured that in a video about how to properly pack CRTs, or better yet, how not to pack them. So yeah, I kind of agonized about what monitor to use, and I ended up going with 5154 because it was the only one that was easily accessible and working. For keyboard, I've gone with this Computerland unit. This is basically a generic keyboard that Computerland just added their badge to. I've seen it with various IBM compatibles, so it's pretty prolific. And it actually has a switch on the back here, which has BC88 or BC286. So basically, that allows you to switch between XT or AT mode. And obviously, as this is an XT class computer, I've already switched the keyboard to XT mode. Okay, so I brought the house lights down and we're ready to fire up this computer. I'm really hoping it just starts up and doesn't literally go on fire, which has occasionally happened here. But yeah, so far the results of our tests have been promising. In terms of boot disks, I'm very lucky in that I have an enormous box of blank, unformatted, brand new 3.5-inch 720 kilobyte discs. I got it with an Apple II purchase, I think. I bought a 2C Plus, and the guy just threw in this huge box of discs. So that's handy because the 3.5-inch drive on this machine is 720K. So yeah, I just took out my ThinkPad 380XD and wrote some disk images. So we should be able to fire this thing up no matter what, as long as the floppy drives are still working. And I believe with the TL, it can actually boot from either drive. It'll look in both places. And if memory serves me correctly, these machines also have DeskMate, which is that goofy built-in shell, and it includes DOS 3.3, but it's like the most crippled DOS 3.3 ever, because they were using ROM chips, so they only had so much room, and they just had enough to basically put the system on there, and that's pretty much it. I remember being quite confused about that the first time I messed with one of these as a kid. I had no idea that they had that feature, so I turned the machine on, and all of a sudden I've got DeskMate up there, and I'm like, I didn't put a disk in there. How did that happen? So yeah, we'll try firing it up here, and we'll just see what it does. Turn on our monitor, just let it warm up a little bit. Please don't burn. There we go. Whoa! I don't remember it being that fast. Holy smokes, that went right into a file not found. Please insert disk containing desktop.cfg into any file, into any drive. Enter. I don't know why it would need. Why would it need that? Okay, so I just refreshed myself on DeskMate and had forgotten that yes, you actually do have to have DeskMate disks made up because obviously there isn't enough room on the ROM to store all kinds of programs. So I've actually written the original DeskMate disks that would have come with this machine, and I'll see if I can get it to accept those. Nice. Well, there's DeskMate. Yeah, I never really liked these kind of shell programs back in the day. I found them kind of cumbersome. I just preferred to work in command line because that's what I was used to. But I know people that had DeskMate back in the day, and they swore by it. They just absolutely loved its abilities. So you could just, manage your household with one of these things. Because, you had your address book, you had a calendar, you could draw, you could kind of organize your life with the thing. This is a text editor. It's nice to see it's working, though. Keyboard actually types pretty nice. Yeah, I mean that's the basics for that. All right, let's see what our benchmark comes up as. Should be interesting. Ouch. So yeah, that's I believe my BC88 with an 8088-2 CPU can match that. So yeah, that's pretty I mean, it's okay, but it's not great. But, budget computer, what are you gonna do? All right, so now we'll check out a game, and I'm gonna use my old go-to for 16 color graphics. King's Quest, or rather King's Quest 3. Well, that's looking pretty promising. And there we go. And there's that legendary 3-voice Tandy sound. Go away, wizard. Yeah, I mean, I still appreciate 16 color graphics. When I was playing this game, I had to play it on our old IBM AT, and it only had 4 color CGA, and let me tell you, 4 color CGA for this kind of thing sucks, because you can't see half the stuff that's on the screen. Like, it's just, there's so many details you miss. So yeah, I still appreciate this for what it is, but again, you know, this is 1987, 1988, you know, VGA was a thing, and it was much better, and you definitely wanted that if you had a choice. Now, something I didn't talk about when I was talking about the specs is the fact that the TL series received an upgraded sound chip. So in addition to the 3-voice sound, it can also do something that's more or less equivalent to the Kovacs speech thing, thanks to the DAC chip that they put in there. Anyway, I didn't know about that feature even when I briefly had this machine as a BBS machine, and that's just because I wasn't using it for gaming. And yeah, I don't think a lot of companies really designed software that took advantage of it. I think there's really only a few titles from back then that actually made use of that chip. And one of them was Future Classics, which I believe I have here. Tandy Sound, Tandy Graphics. Ooh. Kind of reminds me of the old Sega Master System. Not sure why we got snow all over the place though. Not the fastest. Okay, what do we got here? Let's try Lost in Maze. What's that? I mean, that's pretty good sound. Actually, it reminds me of the Apple II GS. That's where that's... That wasn't bad. What is this? Okay. Blank is ready. Okay, now what? I have no idea what I'm doing. Because I don't have a manual. Because this is pirated. That's why you should never pirate games, boys and girls. Because I just can't get out of this damn corner. Where the heck am I going? I'm starting to think there's not a way. Go this way. Go down. Nope. Back that way. Alright, well. Alright, let's try something else here. Let's tank battle. That looks like fun. pretty rocking music here. All right, so what do we do for this one? Oh, there I am. Okay. Oh, they're actually trying to kill me. Must be a way to fire. How do I fire? Oh, center. Okay. Die. Oh, that didn't last very long. Okay, now that I sort of have a clue what I'm doing. Nice. This one we're having a little more success on. Shouldn't have missed. I don't like the snow that's going on there. I don't know why it's doing that. Am I supposed to shoot that thing, or what am I supposed to do? Drive over it. And that's gas, I guess, up on the top there. Okay. Now what? What, is that just it, or? I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing here. I'll just try and drive back to base. I'm all about the base. Where do we go? Back to the garage. All right. Well, that was pretty good. At least I could figure out what I was doing on that one. Alright, let's see what other trouble we can get into here. What is Diet Riot? Is that like a Burger Time kind of clone? Hot Hut tonight. This sounds bad. Very classic arcade kind of sound for a game called Future Classics. Okay. Where am I? What am I? Okay, I'm apparently eating. Okay, this game makes no sense at all. Yeah, where am I? Hello? Oh, I'm over there. Okay. And I just got ironed again. Yeah. Okay, you know what? I have no idea what's going on in that game. They should have called this the Future Inscrutable Classics Collection, because none of this made any sense. Yeah, I should have gotten manual out, but oh well. But yeah, I mean that's basically it. This thing is fully working. $40 and it's doing everything that I ask it to do. I don't know what this, like I said before, I don't know what this snow stuff is, but I'm sure that's just this particular game. But otherwise, yeah, it doesn't seem to mind only having 4 out of 8 chips in that bank, which I think is actually for video RAM, if I'm not mistaken. So that maybe that's partly behind some of our issues here. I do enjoy the challenge of fixing a broken computer, but these are a little bit too modern for the kind of fixing that I'm capable of. There's just too many things that, you know, you got custom chips and you have all this other stuff to mess around with, and it's way over my head. So yeah, I'm kind of relieved this one's working. This means that I can take the other TL that I had and just keep it as parts, you know, for whatever needs replacing on this thing. So yeah, that's kind of it for this video. And yeah, we do have another video in the pipeline shortly. That's covering the Southwest Technical Products PR40, which it took a little while, as repair videos often do for me, because you know, I kind of start working on it and something doesn't work a particular way, and then I spend a week trying to figure it out and then forgetting to film half of it and then going back. But yeah, it's actually, I won't spoil the ending, but basically, yeah, we have a video just about ready to go out. So yeah, that was our Tandy 1000 TL, nice little trip down memory lane. Yeah, it's I mean, it's a decent little machine. It isn't something I would have particularly wanted back in the day, because like I said, I would have been ready for VGA graphics. Although you could have upgraded this, but yeah, the whole XT architecture thing, yeah, that would have sucked. You know, it's a lovely little computer. I love just the nice, simple, understated look of the thing. Would I have wanted one as my primary computer? Probably not. I think I was into VGA graphics for sure by the time these came out. And I definitely wouldn't have liked being stuck with XT architecture. I definitely had a need for 16-bit ISA slots, so yeah, that wouldn't have been a big seller for me. But, you know, it does bring back some nostalgia. I just remember having one of these for the very first iteration of my bulletin board, and yeah, it's just really great to see it again. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video very soon.